Most people believe they know themselves. They know what they like, what they dislike, what they post online, and what they want others to see. But Carl Jung warned that the most influential part of the psyche is the part we refuse to look at. The shadow does not announce itself loudly. It hides behind habits, relationships, emotional reactions, and repeating life patterns. And the more we avoid it, the more it quietly controls us. This video is not about quick motivation or surface-level self-love. It's about understanding why certain behaviors keep repeating in your life, why detachment feels impossible, and why trying to stay positive often makes things worse. Jung believed that growth does not come from suppressing darkness, but from integrating it. What you are about to hear are psychological truths that were never meant to be comforting, but they are liberating. If you've ever felt stuck, emotionally reactive, or disconnected from yourself, this video is for you. Let's begin with the first truth, one that immediately challenges how most people think about self-improvement. The shadow forms from what you were taught to reject. Carl Jung described the shadow as everything within us that was deemed unacceptable at some point in our development. This isn't limited to destructive traits. It often includes strength, assertiveness, emotional needs, anger, sexuality, vulnerability, or ambition. As children, we learned what earned approval and what led to rejection. Anything that threatened belonging was pushed into the unconscious. In practical terms, this means that a person who prides themselves on being endlessly kind may have repressed aggression. Someone who appears emotionally detached may have buried deep sensitivity. The shadow grows not because traits disappear, but because they go unacknowledged. In daily life, this shows up as sudden emotional explosions, passive behavior, or feeling not like yourself in certain situations. Recognizing where your personality feels overly rigid is often the first clue that shadow material is present. What irritates you in others often reveals your own shadow. One of Jung's most uncomfortable insights was that strong emotional reactions toward others are rarely about the other person alone. When someone triggers disproportionate anger, disgust, or even fascination, it's often because they are expressing a trait you've disowned in yourself. Now, this doesn't mean you approve of their behavior. It simply means their existence threatens the psychological balance you've built. For example, someone who despises arrogance may have, suppressed their own desire for recognition. Someone who criticizes emotional people may have learned early on that expressing feelings was unsafe. A practical way to work with this is to pause after strong reactions and ask what exactly is being activated. Over time, this practice reduces emotional reactivity and increases self-control, not by suppression, but by understanding. Detachment fails when it is used as avoidance. Many people turn to detachment as a way to escape pain, relationships, or unresolved emotions. Jung would argue that detachment without integration only strengthens the shadow. True detachment comes from wholeness, not numbness. When emotions are denied rather than understood, they return in indirect ways, through anxiety, obsession, or sudden emotional collapse. In practical life, this means that cutting people off, distracting yourself, or, intellectualizing feelings may bring temporary relief, but honestly, long-term fragmentation. Healthy detachment arises naturally once emotional material has been consciously processed. When you allow yourself to understand why you feel attached, the attachment loosens on its own. This is not weakness. It is psychological maturity. The shadow does not disappear through positivity. Jung was deeply critical of forced positivity. He believed that light only becomes meaningful when darkness is acknowledged. Attempting to replace anger, grief, or envy with affirmations often drives those emotions deeper into the unconscious. The shadow grows strongest when it is ignored in the name of being, well, better. A more grounded approach is to allow emotions to exist without acting them out or judging them. For example, acknowledging jealousy without self-hatred allows you to explore unmet desires. Acknowledging anger without violence allows you to set boundaries. The goal is not to become good, but to become whole. Integration is not indulgence. You know, a common misunderstanding about shadow work is that acknowledging darker traits means acting on them. Jung was clear that integration is about awareness, not indulgence. Recognizing aggression does not mean becoming violent. Recognizing selfishness does not mean harming others. It means bringing unconscious impulses into conscious regulation. In daily life, this might look like asserting yourself calmly instead of resenting silently, or expressing needs instead of manipulating situations. Integration strengthens character because it gives the ego access to energy that was previously locked away. Wholeness, not perfection, is the goal. Jung believed that psychological health does not come from eliminating flaws, but from accepting inner contradictions. The individuation process, the journey toward becoming oneself, is lifelong. There is no final state of completion. What matters is honesty with oneself and the courage to face inner conflict. People who pursue perfection often become brittle. People who pursue wholeness become resilient. They are less reactive, less dependent on validation, and more grounded in their decisions. This is why shadow work, while uncomfortable, leads to a deeper sense of peace. If this video resonated with you, it's because part of you is ready to look inward rather than outward for answers. The shadow mirror exists for those who are willing to confront themselves honestly and grow through understanding rather than denial. If you found this valuable, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs it, and stay with us as we continue exploring Jungian psychology, shadow work, and the path toward becoming whole. Looking into the mirror is not easy, but it is necessary.